Joining me now is Hollywood journalist, author, chronicler of celebrity wokeness, and creator of the fantastic Hollywood in Toto website and podcast, Christian Toto. Christian, thanks so much for joining me on the U.S. Report. And I want to start with a great piece you've written this week highlighting something that I had not heard about before. A new romantic comedy film titled The Elephant in the Room, set in 2021, which explores what happens if a leftist woman meets a MAGA man and falls in love. Here's a little bit of the trailer.
Is he a right-winger?
Well, I only voted for him twice.
Oh my God!
You'd look past it.
That's about one.
So if it's just about sex, who cares? So what do you like about him?
Look, I don't think he's a nice guy.
Okay.
He's just more open about it, which is refreshing.
That is refreshing to you?
Tell her you think the election was legit. She'll eat that up.
Christian, I think this is absolutely fascinating here that Hollywood has actually gone there with something that portrays a Trump supporter in at least a bit of a sympathetic way because, you know, I think we all know people in their personal lives who've had very similar conversations to what we've just seen there in that trailer. Tell us about this.
Yeah, it's the movie we need right now more than ever, but actually that might be the case. It is a romantic comedy. It is traditional in a way, but the conflict is very of the moment. And like you said, so many people have had similar situations in their lives where they've got this conflict, like, you know, friends they've known for years, if not decades, fighting like they never fought before. What about a romantic couple who seem to have a spark and a connection, but they've got this thing between them, this political divide? Can they get along? Can love really happen? It's a great idea. It's fraught with complications for sure, but I found it utterly charming. And I thought they did a nice job with the balance. That was the key issue here. You're not really siding one way or the other. I think there's a real sense of both sides of this situation get to say their piece, and they do it in a very intelligent way. It's a shocking film from that perspective alone.
Well, that's pretty shocking. I mean, you know, for Hollywood to do that, and we all know the sort of the stories about in the polls we've seen where left-wing people won't date right-wing people date left-wing people. So maybe this will help bridge some divides. But it does sound, too, Christian, like there are some other divides that are unbridgeable because veteran Hollywood actor Luis Guzman caused a stir after he called Latino Americans who voted for Trump ignorant. Now, I guess this is because the president won a pretty large percentage of the Latino vote in last year's election. What is going on here? Because this seems like, again, a return to the bad old days of the hard left Hollywood.
Yeah, you know, listen, he's a terrific actor. He's been doing it for decades. You know, calling an entire group of people, a very large group, ignorant, I think he needs to leave his ideological bubble and actually talk to some of the Trump voters who happen to be Latino. Find out why they voted the way they did. What were the issues that were top of mind? I think he might get a really interesting education if he did that. But just saying that they're ignorant, it feels a little bit weak, to say the very least.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, speaking of California, though, where that all comes from in Hollywood, is Governor Gavin Newsom. He is locked into a battle with one of his predecessors, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Apparently, Newsom is reportedly refusing to honor Schwarzenegger with a key state honor because of Schwarzenegger's disapproval of Newsom's push to redistrict the state and gerrymander it so that basically the entire place becomes Democratic congressionally. Tell us a bit more about this here, what the Terminator is doing here to Newsom and how this is all happening.
Yeah, I mean, it seems petty as possible just on the surface. You know, it's so funny because Newsom has been having this really aggressive effort to rebrand him on social media. He's the tough guy. He's fighting fire with Trump. But if you can't stand up to Schwarzenegger, who is not very political at this point in his career, yes, he was a Republican, still is, but he's the softest of Republicans you'll possibly find. So he's not throwing sharp elbows. So this just seems like a very, very, very minor way to strike back at someone who's criticizing something you're doing. How about engage with the governor and see why they might agree on some issues as well. So it just seems like a bad political move for someone who's got a little bit of energy right now, for better or worse.
But Christian, you know, you're in California. I have a lot of people here in Australia talking to me about Gavin Newsom, asking what I think about him. And I feel like this is one of those moments that's very revealing about the guy's character. I mean, if he's going to be so petty about this, you know, is everything just going to be this political fight, turning everybody into either friends or enemies?
Yeah, it's a bad look for sure. And it's something he shouldn't really be engaging with. He should just honor the ex-governor, who's obviously a huge movie star and a pop culture icon, and just leave it there. I mean, I think that's magnanimous. And I think it's what people want to see from the politicians. Yes, we'll get in the fight and we'll throw some sharp elbows. But at the end of the day, you've got to kind of rise to a certain level and just be above it all. And just this is the perfect moment. And, the fact that Politico is reporting on this, which is not exactly a conservative website, makes it more interesting for sure. And just a quick note, I'm actually based in Denver, Colorado, but I do cover Hollywood and California excessively.
My apologies for the misgeographying there, I guess we can call it there. Hey, before I let you go, though, how dare I? But it's Coloradan, sir. But I want to get your thoughts finally before I let you go about this amazing story about Vanity Fair magazine, where apparently the journos are going to walk out because First Lady Melania Trump is set to feature on the magazine's front cover. I would think that Melania Trump is this incredibly glamorous woman who speaks a bunch of languages and has brought, her own flair and elegance to the White House, yet people can't accept her. What's going on here? That even that at Vanity Fair, they won't go into the office if they run her on the cover.
I mean, none of this is surprising. There's a reason why she hasn't graced any covers in many years, despite what she's been accomplishing and because of her role in the White House. But I would just suggest to the people who are blowing a gasket over this particular potential cover to watch the movie we just talked about, Elephant in the Room. They may kind of open their minds a bit about, hey, maybe we all can get along, and maybe a beautiful, interesting first lady deserves to be on our magazine cover without all sorts of consternation. Or I could just say, quit, leave. I'm sure a lot of journalists out there would love the jobs you have. I think they'll step in pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me that anybody would be walking out of a magazine job in New York, but there you go. Christian Toto, thank you so much for your time, and check out the Hollywood and Toto website.